Hey, and welcome to this week's conversation. And today I really want to talk about how to build self-trust and also how to step into your confidence. They really go hand in hand. And today, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about how you can start to build confidence in an area of your life, potentially in your business, that you may be kind of dancing around stepping into, or you're not really sure how to step into confidence. So right away, I just have to say, one of the fastest ways to build confidence is just to go out and do the damn thing that you are being called to do. Maybe that's you saying yes to a speaking gig. Maybe that's you jumping into a podcast or launching your own show. Maybe that's you pressing live on Instagram and sharing your gifts. Maybe that's you writing a book. Whatever it is that you want to be confident at, it's so important that you rip the Band-Aid off and you just do it. At least that's what seems to work really well for me. A lot of the time in my life and my business, if I'm not confident with something or I feel like I really don't know what I'm doing, I tend to throw myself into experiences so that I can learn how to swim. One of the biggest problems that I see with a lot of people when it comes to business or going after a dream or whatever it is we can get so stuck sometimes in learning all of the things, learning all of the techniques or things that we should know about the thing that we want to do, but we stay outside of the arena and we can get into a space of overanalyzing everything and not taking action. So if you are a perfectionist, you resonate as that, or you take a really long time to take action when you're stepping into something new, maybe ripping off the Band-Aid and just doing that thing, messy, imperfect, is the way to go to start building confidence. So I really believe in starting before you have all of your ducks in the row, starting before you're ready and just jumping in. It's kind of like learning to swim. You can be on the sideline learning to swim and all the things, but you're never actually going to learn or know what it's like on a deep level until you jump into the pool. And of course, before you jump into the pool, you might want to have some water wings on you and someone there to help you if you're new to swimming, but it's really important to jump into the arena. So maybe you're thinking of launching a product, maybe you're thinking of getting on a stage, maybe you're thinking of writing a book. Yes, it's important to find people who are doing it well and people that you can learn from. But at the end of the day, when it comes to going after your dreams, when it comes to really going after what you want, it's about taking that massive inspired action. And I know for me, when I ran my first event, I was like, oh my gosh, is anyone going to show up? And same thing when I ran my last event. Oh my gosh, is anyone going to show up? But I showed up, I decided it, I declared it, and I went all in. And in a past episode, I talked about my speaking. The first time I was on a stage, I literally said yes like 3 days, my friends, before the event. I didn't even know what I was going to talk about. I didn't even have my coaching business yet, but I said yes because I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And because of that, it's opened up so many different opportunities. So what is the thing that you are putting on hold right now? Maybe it's something that you just need to get more reps in, and it's okay to look messy. It's okay not to look perfect. I was actually looked at some of my old YouTube videos from years ago when I started my coaching business, and oh my gosh, they are so cringe. They are so cringe, okay? You can go and watch some of them if some of them are still up. They are super cringe. I'm like, hi, I'm Deidre. It was wild actually. Looking back at it, I was like, oh my gosh, these are cringe. But I wouldn't have done a lot of the things that I had done in my first year of business. I would have had my first 6 figures in that business my first year, as well as other opportunities and things that I was able to do if I didn't allow myself to be cringe. And there was this really amazing speaker at an event I was at just a few weeks ago when I was in Phoenix, who was talking about Cringe Mountain. And she had this picture of a mountain and that no one can climb Cringe Mountain for you. And I laughed a few times during her presentation because it's important to show up. No one's going to get you from where you are now to that final state without you allowing yourself to be cringe and not be perfect. So one of the best ways to build confidence is to show up and learn the skill and then practice. Put yourself out there, continuously show up. Speaking has been one of those things for me. That was my very first speaking gig. I think I blacked out. I mean, I finished the talk, everything worked, right? But I don't remember speaking. My friends said I did a good job, but we don't really know if I did, right? But I did the thing. And what's going to make you stand out from other people, not that it's an ego thing, not that like, hey, how I'm different from others, but a lot of the people that are further ahead than you, they just started before they were ready. They just started showing up and getting those practice rounds in before it looked perfect. And sometimes, with the internet and everything today, it's so easy to compare ourselves to people who have been in the game maybe for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, longer than us. I know I've had that a couple times when I was going on stages with some bigger names in my industry. I was like, wow, I'm going on stage with so-and-so who has like 1 million followers and has been on Oprah and all these things. And it's like, yeah, and they've been in this industry in my space for, an additional 10 years or 20 years before I even got started. So it's like, allow yourself to be where you're at and be okay being green, be okay not having it all together. People who are further along than you are not going to judge you for getting started, are not going to judge you for being cringe. They're going to applaud you for showing up. It's really only the people that are not doing the work, are not showing up, are going to judge you for showing up. Because a lot of the time what can happen is it can trigger their insecurities, their inability to say yes and start the thing that they really want to start. And it's interesting because over the years it's kind of been a theme in my life, but on many different occasions in my life, I've had people make fun of me and tease me, and then years later ask how I did it and want to hire me or learn from me. So no one is going to climb cringe mountain for us, my friends, but we got to get started. And the fastest way to build confidence is to show up, commit to it, and continue to show up for that thing that's difficult, that's outside of your comfort zone. And one of the things for me is I'm a deep feeler. I've always been someone who I'm very emotional, I'm very intuitive, and I feel a lot of things. So when I am starting to go after things that are outside of my comfort zone and activate a fear response or lack of confidence, I like to think for a moment, what if I showed up from the perspective that I was a scientist? Well, scientists, before they prove something works, in certain, dynamics when they are launching new products onto the market, among other things that are happening, they have to test the product many, many times before they come to a conclusion. So before you give up on yourself with a dream or something that you really want to do, give yourself the time and the space to start to see an improvement. And do that thing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 times before deciding that you are not XYZ. Because our self, our true identity, our strengths are revealed from walking the path, not sitting on the sidelines. So today I just really wanted to talk about how to build self-trust. Self-trust comes from saying you're going to do something and then following through with it. And every time we say that we're going to do something, whether it's to other people or to ourselves, and we don't show up for it, we lose self-trust, and then we don't really back ourselves, right? We don't really show up for the things that we want because we don't trust that we're going to show up for it. So a good way to get started with something that you're wanting to develop, whether that's a habit, whether that's getting outside of your comfort zone, climbing cringe mountain, all of those things, is committing to something that you know that you can show up for, and also maybe hiring a coach or getting someone to hold you accountable. One of the things I did years ago is I met this woman at one of my very first big conferences that I went to, probably like 7 years ago. And we started voice noting each other every single day. Well, actually, it wasn't every single day, but it was Monday to Friday. And we did this consistently for 5 or 6 years. Every single morning, I would send her what my intention was for the day, how I wanted to feel, how I wanted to show up, what I was committed to, and what my desired outcome was. And I did that consistently, my friends, for like 5 or 6 years. And it was just about a year or so ago that I messaged my friend Margaret and I was like, hey, Margaret, like, it's been so good doing this with you for the past 5 or 6 years, but I don't need to do it anymore because it's a natural thing that I'm doing. You know what I mean? So once you have that accountability for whatever it is that you're showing up for and building confidence with, or, you know, that you want to execute, the more you show up for it, the more confident you're going to be, the more it becomes a habit. And also having an accountability partner or a coach or someone to check in with you makes you significantly more likely to be successful with that habit. And so when it comes to building confidence, it's about building that self-trust, saying yes to ourselves and what we want and showing up for that. And also not giving ourselves sometimes like, oh, I'm going to do, 20 new things. Starting now, when we overwhelm ourselves with all of these things we're going to do right now, we kind of set ourselves up potentially for failure or overwhelm, right? So what is one thing that you can commit to and start showing up for? And maybe what are some of the things that you're telling yourself that you're going to do, but you're not showing up for? Taking some time to assess, is this really for me? Do I need accountability? Am I getting stuck? Is there fear? Do I need to be the scientist around it? Do I need to get support with someone who has a way to make this easier for me? Like, what is getting in the way? And another great episode that you can listen to that I recently recorded was around getting what's in the way out of the way. If you haven't listened to that episode, I highly recommend checking that out. And there's also a worksheet that you can download that comes with that episode, so you can start identifying some of the things that might be getting in your way right now from where you are and where you want to go with your dreams and your goals and all of that. And you need to start somewhere, and today can always be the day that you move that thing forward. So accountability, saying yes to things that you are going to show up for, making yourself show up for it, and then also assessing the things that maybe you are saying that you're going to do and checking in. Is it really in alignment? Do I need support here? Do I need accountability? Is it just fear? Do I need to just rip off the Band-Aid and jump in? And there are coaches that I speak to often that show up in my field every, let's say, year or so, and I'll be like, how's this going? How's that going? I'll check in on their goals and what they're up to. People that I know in my space, and many of them have not executed a lot of their goals and dreams because they are waiting on the sidelines. They're comparing themselves to other people, and they're coming up with all these logical reasons why they're not saying yes. So the best thing you can do is rip off the Band-Aid, jump in, get an accountability buddy, or hire a coach or someone who can help you take those next steps and get yourself out there with whatever it is that your goal is. And what was I going to say? The biggest thing here is saying yes to what you want and just going all in and trusting yourself. So how do you trust yourself more? You say yes and you take the action, and you know that whatever stage you're at, it's part of the journey. And one of the things I learned about entrepreneurship and going after our goals and all of that was I was mountain biking one day. And I was new to mountain biking at the time, and I was like holding on tight to the grips, and I was going down the mountain, and then there was a big mountain that I had to climb right after. And what I learned about, our goals, our visions, and what we want to create and step into as an entrepreneur and a creator, and really someone who's just stepping into their dreams and making things happen, is that it's important to be aware of about a meter in front of you. So how is that related to entrepreneurship? It's important for us to know what the next step is so that we can work towards that. So one of the reasons why a lot of the time entrepreneurs don't take steps is because we're looking at the end goal and we get overwhelmed and we forget to break it down, or we don't know what the first step is. So knowing what that first step is and focusing on it is going to get you to your destination a lot quicker. So you want to focus about a meter out in front of you. What is the next thing that you need to do? The next thing that I learned when I was mountain biking is you also want to keep in mind where you're going, the final destination. Because when you know what your final destination is, whether that's being an international speaker, being a top-rated podcast, having a best-selling book, whatever your goal is when you know what your big goal is, that will fuel you to keep going with your dreams. So it's important to know where you're going, and it's also important to know what is that first step, what is that meter out in front of you. So as I was mountain biking, and again, I was newer to mountain biking at the time, so not super confident, I realized really quickly that if I looked to the right and the left of me instead of focusing in front of me that first meter, I would get wobbly and almost fall into a ditch. I would almost fall on the mountain, and I was going pretty fast. So how is this connected to entrepreneurship? How is this connected to your dreams? When you are too busy looking around and comparing yourself to other people on the internet, other people in your field, you are going to get off track and you will have a hard time getting back on your bike with your dreams, because you might get into this space of, oh, I'm not this enough, I should be that enough. And what happens is we can lose our center, we can lose what we're doing and why we're doing it, and forget our magic. So it's so important to put the blinders on to what other people are doing. And that might look like unfollowing a lot of people on social media. That might look like not following people in your industry on social media. That might look like having discipline so that you are staying focused on where you're going, that next step and the final destination, right? And then the next thing that I learned really quickly when I was mountain biking and how it's connected to entrepreneurship is you don't want to look down and get too focused on the nitty-gritty things that are happening. These can be like small upsets, these can be like learning curves, this can be just things that don't feel good, or just getting really, stuck on the details. Because what happens is if you're mountain biking and you look down at what you're going over, you are going to fall on your face. You're going to get hurt, and you're probably not going to want to get back on the bike. So how is this connected to business? How is this connected to your goals? How is this all coming together and one? Well, if you are focusing too much on small details, nitty-gritty things, or things that don't feel good, you're going to manifest more of that, and it's going to stop and stall your progress, and you're going to stop making that momentum and those steps moving forward. This can show up sometimes in business where you're getting hyper focused on your appearance or how you look or the specific words that you say, and you just get overwhelmed with small details that you're not fulfilling on your magic, that you're not getting on the stage, that you're not writing the book because you're like, well, it's not going to be like so-and-so's book who's a New York Times best-selling author. It's just about showing up and moving things forward. And the more you show up, the more you move things forward and you keep your vision forward, the faster you are going to achieve your goals, the more self-trust you are going to have. So that is the episode, that is the conversation for today around building self-trust and moving things forward rather than giving up on yourself, not showing up for yourself, getting into a perfectionist mode and not doing the thing that you are here to do. I hope that this episode has been valuable to you. If it has been, and you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube or whatever listening platform you are on. And if you like this episode and you love the show, I would love for you to write a review below and send it to us at hello@radicallyaligned.com. You'll just take a snapshot of it. And if you do that, when you do that, take a snapshot of your review and send it over to us at hello@radicallyaligned.com. We will send you a copy of my book, Turn Your Light On, in the mail. So also include your mailing address. This is something that we are doing for the first little bit of the show, as we'd love to hear what resonates, what you're loving. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I'd love to hear what are some of your wins and insights. How did this episode land for you? I can't wait to hear from you, and also looking forward to sharing more in the upcoming episode. And also, as I mentioned earlier, if you find that you're kind of getting in your own way with taking action and building that self-trust and all of that, I also recommend listening to the episode that's called How to Get What's in the Way Out of the Way when it comes to turning your dreams into a reality. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming episode.